Imagine walking up to a bank teller, right? You are asking for a loan,
Okay.
and when they ask to see your financial history, you just hand them a locked metal
It's
box.
a locked box. Yeah.
Yeah. You look them in the eye and say, the proof that I can repay this loan is inside.
Oh,
You
wow.
can't open the box, you can't see my salary, but the math guarantees I have the money.
That is quite the visual.
Right. And the teller just smiles, stamps your paper, and approves the loan.
Just like that.
Exactly. I mean, it sounds like a scene straight out of a sci-fi movie, isn't it?
It really does.
But based on what we are seeing in the crypto world right now, this exact scenario is actually becoming a reality.
Yes, it is.
So welcome back to another session of our Crypto Beyond the Hype series. Today, we are tackling this massive contradiction that, frankly, confuses nearly everyone when they first look at this space.
Oh, absolutely. It is a huge point of confusion.
Right. Because on one hand, you hear that crypto is this totally private sanctuary, completely off the grid.
Yes, the anonymous money narrative.
Exactly. But then on the other hand, you hear it operates on public ledgers where every single transaction is visible to anyone with a Wi-Fi connection.
Right.
So the mission for this deep dive is to figure that out. How can it be a private sanctuary in a completely transparent glass house at the exact same time?
It is a bit of a paradox, I mean, truly. And frankly, it is the root of so much misunderstanding for anyone trying to learn about this space.
Yeah.
And for you, the listener, looking at the bigger picture, this matters immensely as we move more of our lives online.
Definitely.
I mean, think about how you handle your normal finances right now. You do not broadcast your daily coffee purchase, your rent payment, or your medical bills on a public billboard for the whole world to see.
No, of course not. That would be absurd.
Completely absurd. You wouldn't leave the curtains to your bedroom wide open for the whole street to see, so why should your digital financial life be any different?
Right, right.
But at the same time, the financial systems we rely on, they need a way to verify things to actually function. The bank needs to know you actually have the money you're trying to spend.
Right, they need some level of proof.
Exactly. So we are constantly caught in this tug of war, between needing systemic trust and wanting a normal, healthy amount of personal privacy.
So let's look at this a bit closer, shall we? Because building on our earlier discussions about how crypto works, we know these systems are built on what we call public ledgers.
Yes, the blockchain.
Right. And I understand why the ledger is public. It prevents double spending. It removes the need for a central bank and, creates trust because anyone can verify the math.
That is the whole foundational idea, yes.
But let me play devil's advocate right out of the gate here.
Go for it.
If the whole point of a public ledger is that everyone can look at it to verify the rules were followed,
Right.
isn't privacy basically impossible by definition?
It certainly seems that way at first glance.
I mean, it feels like trying to keep a secret while shouting it through a megaphone in a crowded market. If the network needs to see my transaction to verify it, how do we fix that massive overexposure?
That is the million-dollar question. And it leads us straight to a really fascinating concept called zero-knowledge proof.
Zero-knowledge proof.
Or ZKP for short.
Okay.
See, it asks a very profound, almost philosophical question. Can a mathematical system confirm that a transaction is completely valid without forcing you to put all the underlying sensitive details on display?
Oh, I see.
Yes. Zero-knowledge proof is the technology that bridges this gap. It proves just enough to satisfy the strict rules of the public ledger without exposing your personal business to the public.
Okay, I hear the words zero-knowledge proof, and I have to be honest, it sounds incredibly intimidating.
It does sound like high-level cryptography.
Yeah, it sounds like something ordinary people aren't meant to understand.
Mm-hmm.
So let's bring this down to earth. What does this actually look like in an everyday, real-world scenario?
Sure. In simple language, a zero-knowledge proof is a way of proving to someone, let's call them a verifier.
Okay, a verifier.
Proving to them that you know an answer or that you meet a specific condition entirely without showing them the information behind it.
Wait, entirely without showing the info.
Exactly. The zero-knowledge part of the name simply means the verifier learns absolutely zero extra knowledge beyond the basic fact that your statement is true.
Right, got it.
They get a definitive yes or no and nothing else.
I think the easiest way to visualize this for our listeners is to think about an age-restricted venue, like trying to enter a club.
Oh, that is a great example.
Right. The bouncer at the door only needs to know one single thing. Are you old enough to enter?
Just that one binary fact.
Exactly. But right now, in the physical world, what do we actually do? We hand over a government ID card.
We do?
And that card shows your exact birth date, Your full home address, your document number.
Your full legal name.
Yeah. Maybe even your organ donor status.
Yeah.
You are giving away 20 pieces of highly sensitive data just to answer one simple yes or no question.
It is a massive overshare.
So ZKP is essentially like having a magical ID card that you just tap on the bouncer's scanner.
Right.
And the scanner just flashes a green yes. You prove you meet the requirement perfectly without exposing your home address to a total stranger.
That is a brilliant analogy. And I'll tell you what, it really highlights the emotional logic at play here.
How so?
See, the thing is, people generally do not mind verification. If a rule exists for safety or trust, most of us are perfectly happy to comply with it.
Sure, nobody wants unsafe systems.
Right. What people actually object to is sharing far more of their personal lives than a situation reasonably requires.
Exactly.
ZKP makes proof proportionate. It aligns digital verification with just, well, human common sense.
Okay, hold on. Let me pause you there.
Sure.
Because the bouncer analogy makes sense conceptually, but it leaves a massive gap in my mind.
What is that?
If the scanner just flashes green, who programmed the scanner?
Ah.
I mean, why should I trust the machine? How do I know the bouncer hasn't rigged it to steal my data anyway? We are still relying on human trust in that physical scenario.
That is a very fair pushback.
So how does a mathematical system actually do this without a physical scanner? We need to understand the mechanics here, because right now, it still sounds a bit like magic.
I understand. To grasp the how, we have to replace the physical bouncer with mathematics.
Okay.
Imagine a giant, incredibly detailed Where's Waldo puzzle book.
Oh, I love those. Okay.
Right. So, you want to prove to me that you found Waldo on a specific page, but you refuse to show me where he actually is on that page because you want me to have the fun of finding him myself later.
Right, so I want the credit for finding him today, but I want to keep the location a secret from you.
Exactly. So how do you prove it to me?
I have no idea.
Here is what you do. You take a massive piece of black cardboard, much larger than the book itself.
Okay, a big piece of cardboard.
You cut a tiny Waldo-sized hole right in the middle of it.
Right.
Then you place that cardboard over the book so that Waldo perfectly shows through that little hole.
Oh, wow. Okay.
When I look at the board, I clearly see Waldo through the cutout. So I have absolute proof that you found him.
Because I wouldn't be able to line up the hole otherwise.
Exactly. But because the cardboard is so large and completely covers the edges of the book, I have zero knowledge of his actual coordinates.
Oh, that is so clever.
Right. I don't know if he is in the top left corner, the bottom right, or the middle. You have mathematically proven you possess the knowledge without revealing the knowledge itself.
That is a fantastic visual, truly. But let's push this a bit further.
Sure.
Because a computer isn't using black cardboard, right? How does a blockchain network actually replicate that cardboard cutout using code?
It does it through something called probabilistic verification.
Probabilistic verification.
Yes. Instead of looking through a hole in a board, the network essentially interrogates you. It asks you a series of complex mathematical questions, sometimes thousands of them in a fraction of a second.
Thousands of questions.
Yes. And these are questions that you could only possibly answer correctly if you hold the true underlying data, like the private key to your wallet.
So it's like a rapid fire quiz.
Exactly.
And I don't give the actual secret. I just solve these little puzzles that prove I have the secret.
You've got it. Now, if the network asks you just one question, you might guess the answer and get lucky.
Sure, 50-50 maybe.
Right. But if the network asks you 10,000 questions and you get every single one of them right, the probability that you are just guessing drops to basically zero.
Oh, I see.
The math proves, beyond any reasonable doubt, that you hold the valid information. And the beauty is, none of your answers actually reveal the secret itself.
So the network gets its proof, and your data stays completely hidden.
Perfectly hidden.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. We've established the how conceptually. But I want to move this out of the theoretical realm and into the actual crypto space.
Let's do it.
Because looking at the bigger picture, a lot of listeners are probably wondering how this is being used on blockchains today. We talked earlier about public ledgers being too open. Where is ZKP actually solving problems right now?
From what we know, there are two major areas where this is actively transforming the landscape right now: privacy and scalability.
Let's start with privacy.
Sure. On the privacy front, we see specific crypto networks, often called privacy coins, that are built entirely around this concept. Zcash is a famous example from the research.
Zcash, okay.
Right. If you use normal Bitcoin, your wallet address and the exact amount you sent are completely visible on the public ledger.
Everyone can see it.
Everyone. But if you use a network like Zcash, zero-knowledge proofs are used to verify that the coins you were sending are real and haven't been spent before, while simultaneously encrypting the sender, the receiver, and the transaction amount. The ledger still records that a valid transaction happened. The math checks out. But the details are completely blacked out to the public.
So it's literally the locked metal box from our earlier example.
Yes.
The network teller approves the transaction without ever seeing inside the box.
Precisely. But, what is arguably even more exciting and what is gaining massive traction right now is how ZKP is being used for scalability, particularly on networks like Ethereum.
Right, because Ethereum is notoriously slow and expensive when too many people try to use it at once, isn't it?
Yes, the traffic can be terrible.
The gas fees go through the roof. But how does privacy math fix a speed problem? That feels disconnected.
It does seem strange at first, but think about how a standard blockchain works. For a transaction to be trusted, every single computer or node on the network has to independently verify the transaction.
Okay.
So if there are 10,000 transactions, every computer does the math 10,000 times.
That sounds exhausting.
It is. It is incredibly secure, yes, but it is terribly slow and creates massive traffic jams.
It's like having thousands of toll booths on a highway, but every single car has to be inspected by every single toll worker before they can pass.
That is exactly what it is like. So developers created something called ZK rollups.
ZK rollups.
Yes. The ZK stands for zero knowledge. Instead of making the main network process every single transaction individually, a separate system bundles or rolls up thousands of transactions together off the main chain.
Okay, so it takes them off the busy highway.
Right. It does all the heavy lifting and computation there. Then it uses a zero-knowledge proof to generate one single, tiny mathematical certificate.
Oh, I see where this is going.
And that certificate proves all 1,000 transactions were processed honestly and correctly.
Let me make sure I'm following this.
Sure.
Instead of submitting 1,000 individual receipts to the main network and forcing it to verify each one manually,
Yes.
you just submit this one ZKP certificate.
Mm-hmm.
And because of the Waldo math we talked about earlier, the main network knows it can trust the certificate without having to double-check the individual receipts.
You've hit the nail on the head.
That is brilliant.
The main network simply verifies the proof, which takes milliseconds, and accepts the entire batch of transactions instantly.
Wow.
This takes the network from processing maybe 15 transactions a second to potentially thousands of transactions a second. And it drastically lowers the fees for the ordinary person.
I mean, it is like compressing a massive gigabyte-sized video file into a tiny zip folder.
Yes.
But the network doesn't even need to unzip it to know the video is pristine.
Exactly. It completely shifts the narrative from, crypto is slow and public to crypto can be instantaneous and private.
That is genuinely incredible. But I need to play devil's advocate again.
Please do.
Because we cannot ignore the elephant in the room here.
Right.
We're talking about all these wonderful benefits.
Right.
But if I am law enforcement, or a regulator, or just an ordinary citizen concerned about scams and money laundering,
It sounds scary.
it sounds like a total nightmare. If transactions are hidden behind mathematical locked boxes, doesn't this technology make it infinitely easier for bad actors, hackers, and criminals to hide their tracks?
Look, it is a very serious concern, and it is one that regulators globally are wrestling with right now.
I would imagine so.
But there is a deeply unfair stigma surrounding the word privacy in digital spaces. People often assume wanting privacy means you have something suspicious to hide.
Yeah, the old, if you've got nothing to hide, you've got nothing to fear argument.
Exactly. But we have to separate privacy from total secrecy.
What is the practical difference between the two in this context?
Well, secrecy is a dark room where no rules apply and no one is accountable.
Okay.
Privacy, on the other hand, is a fundamental human right where you have autonomy over who gets to see your life. Wanting privacy does not mean rejecting accountability.
That makes sense.
And the developers building these ZKP systems understand this balance. Many of these privacy-preserving networks include compliance tools, like what they call view keys.
View keys.
Yeah.
What is a view key?
It is a special cryptographic key that you can selectively share.
Selectively.
Yes. So if you are audited, or if you need to prove your income to a tax authority, You can give them your view key.
Oh, I see.
This allows that specific authority, and only that authority, to see your transaction history while keeping it hidden from the rest of the public.
Oh, that is a crucial distinction.
It really is. It is a way to maintain absolute compliance with the law without having to broadcast your financial life to your neighbors or to hackers.
It is selective disclosure.
Mm,
It actually gives the power of choice back to the individual.
exactly.
Going back to our physical world analogies, we use secure messaging apps to talk to our families.
We
We
do,
protect our email passwords. We close the curtains to our living rooms when the sun goes down.
right?
We do all of these things for dignity and for simple peace of mind. We do not do them because we are committing crimes in our living rooms.
No, absolutely not.
Privacy is a fundamental human need.
Completely agreed. And that brings us to why this technology is arriving at exactly the right time in history. We are dealing with a digital epidemic of overexposure.
Oh, tell me about it.
The burden of digital life is becoming heavier every single year. Think about an ordinary week for you.
Okay.
You are constantly asked to log in, to consent to cookies, to authorize third-party apps, to verify your email, to scan your face.
It never ends.
It doesn't. Systems across the internet collect giant pools of unnecessary personal data just to verify one narrow fact about you.
And we've developed this deeply ingrained habit, almost a reflex, where we just assume that to get digital trust, we have to surrender our data.
Yes.
We trade our privacy for convenience without even blinking anymore. Every time a major company suffers a data breach and millions of passwords and credit cards are stolen, we just shrug and say, well, that's the cost of using the internet.
But from what we are seeing now, zero-knowledge proofs prove that it doesn't have to be the cost. Historically, we have been forced to choose between two extremes: total exposure of our data to get verification, or zero verification, which means we cannot use the service at all.
Yeah, take it or leave it.
Exactly. But ZKP offers a very powerful third path. It says you no longer have to make that unfair choice.
That is so refreshing.
It hints at a future relationship with technology that is remarkably smarter, far more precise, and fundamentally less invasive. The system gets its trust, and you keep your data.
See, the thing is, this potential reaches so far beyond just buying and selling digital coins.
Oh, absolutely.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this could restructure how the entire internet handles identity, couldn't it?
Without a doubt.
Right.
The principle applies anywhere a system needs proof without overexposure.
Give me some examples outside of crypto.
Imagine voting systems,
Okay.
where you can mathematically prove you are an eligible citizen who cast exactly one valid vote without the system ever knowing who you voted for or tracking your identity.
That would be amazing for election integrity.
Or imagine healthcare systems. You can prove to a pharmacy that you have a valid prescription from a licensed doctor without the pharmacy database storing your entire medical history.
Wow.
It applies to digital passports, access credentials, memberships, literally any scenario where you need to be verified.
Now, before everyone listening runs out and assumes every crypto project is suddenly a private sanctuary, we need to offer a bit of a reality check.
Yes, please do.
Because looking at the market, crypto privacy isn't a simple yes or no switch. Different coins, different networks, and different systems have totally different privacy experiences.
That is true.
I think it's vital for our listeners to know that just because something says crypto, it doesn't automatically mean it uses ZKP.
That is an essential caution. The vast majority of crypto networks today are still completely public and transparent by design.
Like Bitcoin.
Like Bitcoin, exactly. And even when a project does use sophisticated language like zero-knowledge proof in its marketing material, it does not mean the project is mature, secure, or even trustworthy. As an ordinary person navigating this space, thoughtful interest is much safer than blind excitement.
Because the math might be perfect, but the humans writing the code can still make mistakes.
Exactly. Real-world implementation of this cryptography is incredibly complex. A concept can be mathematically brilliant, but if it is implemented poorly by a team you cannot trust, or if the network has a backdoor, your privacy is still very much at risk.
Yeah.
The technology is a tool, and like any tool, its value depends entirely on the architecture in which it is placed and the intent of the people building it.
So we have covered a massive amount of ground today.
We really have.
We started with the paradox of public ledgers. We explored the magic of bouncers and Waldo, and we looked at how this is practically speeding up networks and redefining digital identity.
It is a lot to take in.
It is. So for the everyday listener trying to make sense of this, what are the core takeaways they should walk away with from this deep dive?
Based on everything we have unpacked today, I'd say there are three main things to keep in mind.
Okay, let's hear them.
Number one, zero-knowledge proof is a mathematical way to let systems verify important truths while protecting your privacy. It asks for the bare minimum of data while allowing the system to function perfectly well.
Beautiful.
Number two, we have to remember that privacy is not secrecy. It is not about hiding bad behavior from the law.
Right, closing the curtains.
Exactly. It is a fundamental part of digital dignity, autonomy, and a necessary pushback against the exhausting overcollection of data by modern tech platforms.
And number three.
Number three, crypto is an evolving space. It is not an all-or-nothing landscape. Technologies like Zk rollups are actively solving real problems today, forcing our global society to stop and ask a very serious question. What kind of digital world do we actually want to build?
That is the perfect question to center ourselves on. It really is about demanding better from the technology we are forced to use every day.
Yes. And I want to leave you, the listener, with a final thought to mull over as you go about your day. If we truly move toward a world where internet systems only ever receive a mathematical yes or no through zero-knowledge proofs, rather than storing your actual names, your home addresses, and your daily habits, who really owns your digital identity? For the first time since the internet began, it might actually be you.
That is such a powerful thought. The idea that you finally get to close the curtains and the digital house still functions perfectly.
Exactly.
Well, if you found this session helpful in understanding crypto without drowning in all the technical jargon, please subscribe to the series, hit that like button, and share this deep dive with a friend who is trying to make sense of this space.
We want to empower as many ordinary people as possible to understand these shifts.
We really do. And before you go, drop a comment with the next topic you want us to explore. The more you understand these foundational concepts, the more confidently you can navigate crypto beyond the hype. Until next time, keep asking the right questions.